Hey guys, good evening. It's time for 30 books in 30 weeks. Happy Saturday. I was perusing my timeline before I got on. I had meetings most of the day, but I was perusing my timeline before I got on, and it looks like everybody's out and about. That's so cool. I think I'm gonna go see a movie. Me and my daughter are gonna go see a movie in a little bit, but I wanted to jump on and share this week's today's 30 books in 30 weeks. Our lesson from Love Miscarriage, which is a book that I released last year. And so as you guys come in, we're gonna be talking about the impact of hope on our lives, our relationships, and our businesses, as well as our emotional well-being, and how hope is not always synchronized with reality, and how hope can sometimes be an escape from reality. So as you guys come in, feel free to share the video out, invite some others to join in. If you're catching on the replay, thank you so much for making that investment to watch the video. For those of you who may be joining in for the very first time, who don't really know who I am, is not familiar with what 30 Books in 30 Weeks is all about, 30 Books in 30 Weeks is a personal development journey that I am on with my clients, and have decided to come in and share it on Facebook Live, where we pick a book from my personal development library that have books that have been game changers, books that have been a huge benefit to my life, my experiences, my healing process, and some strategies that I have employed over the years that have allowed me to move through a great deal of pain and struggles and challenges. So 30 Books in 30 Weeks is, my name is Marcy Batiste. I'm a public speaker, I'm an author, and I am a reality-based success and recovery trainer. And my objective is to help individuals and businesses optimize their personal and professional investments so they yield the best return for that investment. Those of you who know me know I'm kind of known for three things. Sold out to my happiness. I live life on Mars, kind of in my own little world. And my favorite thing in the whole wide world is to help other women shine, to be able to ignite the light for someone else to discover and embrace their star power. And to that, personal development is such a huge part of being able to discover star power. It's so huge to be able to fully embrace that, because when you fully embrace your own star power, you then become a conduit. You then become and are able to ignite the light for someone else. And so, I started this year off, 2018, committed to 1,000 women really truly transforming love, life, and relationships, as well as their businesses, from a reality-based personal development space. And it's a little bit different than some traditional teachings, because it really goes back to you learning how to stay in your own lane and drive your own car and control the things that you can control. And I always say there's three kinds of business: my business, your business, and God's business. Make sure you're minding your own business, right? That's the reality right there. That's staying in tune and in balance and in harmony with reality. And so this week, we're in week 14 of 30, so we're almost halfway there. We're talking about Love Miscarriage, which is a book that I released last year, and it talks about finding the love of your life and then having it just snatched from you. You have no control, you have no answers. He walks out of your life with nothing. You have nothing. You went from planning a future together to nothing. No answers, no goodbye, no nothing. And it's not like it's death, because he didn't die. The love died. The relationship died. It ended. You don't necessarily always get answers, and people say, well, I just need closure before I can move on. And what I'm here to tell you is, you're not always going to get the closure that you want or think that you need, but you still have to move on with your life. And so recovering the broken pieces of your heart when love dies too soon is about that moving on in lack of, in spite of not having the closure or the answers that you want. You're not always going to get the answers. Sometimes the answers will never ever come to you. Sometimes when you get answers, they're answers that you're not going to believe anyway. So tonight I want to talk about hope and how hope can hurt. People are always like, oh, keep the faith, hold on to hope, and hope hurts sometimes. Hope is not always your best friend. Reality is serves your greater good far more than hope does most of the time. And so hope is actually used metaphorically in the book as if she's kind of a cheerleader for Tony and Jenna's relationship. She's kind of a cheerleader for everything to work out okay, and for Tony to kind of get his act together and come back to Jenna. And but hope hurts because while Jenna's trying to learn how to cope in the wake of and pick up the broken pieces and figure out, like, how do I move on, hope is what's keeping her connected to Tony. Tony's not responding. Tony's not giving answers. Tony's off living Tony's life is what it amounts to. And Jenna is now stuck in this place. And so I refer to hope a lot in the in the book as hope sitting on the front porch. So even when you can remove hope from to a distance, and you can put some space in between you and hope, hope doesn't necessarily always leave. And because she doesn't leave, there's always that opening for that person. And so when we start talking about people who return to toxic relationships, people who return to abusive relationships, much of that is why, because hope is still there. And we have a tendency, many people, to be more in relationship with hope than we are with reality. And reality is what you have to get in sync with in order to move on, because the answers won't always come. And so I was reading, there's a passage in here where Jenna's talking about she's talking about hope leaving because she was waiting for Tony to come to Arizona from Chicago for a visit. And she hadn't talked to him since he walked out of her life or anything, but hope still had her believing, well, if he has business in the state, has business in the city, then maybe he'll reach out to you when he gets here. Maybe he'll give you an explanation. And so these days, this period of days where Jenna could have been starting to progress and move on, she wasn't able to do that because she's still holding on to the hope that when he comes to the city, she's going to hear from him. And then it's like, then when that doesn't happen, the heartbreak starts all over again. You feel violated all over again. She felt stupid all over again. She felt hurt and devastated. So all of the feelings that had been welling up and she was trying so desperately to walk away from, because hope kept her attached, then she couldn't walk away. So she continued to be harmed because hope was hanging around. Hope was staying in the picture. And that's why I say hope can hurt. You have to really truly get into relationship with reality, because if you stay in a place where your relationship is hope based instead of reality based, you can't build a future on hope. Hope is an attachment to the past. Some people like to think that hope is, some people want to say that hope is like hopeful for the future. Hopeful and an attachment to hope are not necessarily the same things. And so while even being hopeful for the future is a lack of action, Why would you be hopeful for the future when you can create your future? So hope still, even in that instance, can hurt because it's holding you back. It's keeping you from acting because you're just like, oh, I hope everything works out. I hope that I hope I get this job. I hope, I hope, I hope, I hope, I hope. Stop hoping and start doing. Stop hoping and start doing. And that goes for relationships even. And Jenna was so stuck. And my niece and I, we joke a lot about Hope getting her ass off the front porch. Because Jenna's like, Hope just never really leaves me. Like, Hope is here. And in some instances, that in the very beginning, that hope was what she had to cling to in order to even begin to process the fact that everything she thought she knew about this new relationship was gone in a flash. It was just gone. And so she needed that hope in the early stages, but then getting attached to hope and relying on hope too heavily then left her clinging to something that was not ever going to happen. And so if you're clinging to that hope and you're clinging to the past, you can't possibly move forward. And healing requires that you take action. Hope is not action. Hope is stagnant. Hope is pie in the sky, willy-nilly. Hope is not a strategy. Hope is certainly not a success strategy. Hope might be a coping mechanism, but so are drugs and alcohol, and they're not good for you in excess either. And so when you think about hope, when you think about it from a coping standpoint, realizing if it is similar to drugs and alcohol, right, then too much of it not good for you. Too much fried food's not good for you. So too much hope isn't necessarily good for you either, because it's holding back the action. You're waiting for hope to complete the process instead of doing the work for you to complete the process. And so recovering the broken pieces of your heart, after that love miscarriage, Jenna relied so heavily on hope because she physically for days could not move. She physically for days could not formulate thoughts. And so to return back to Arizona, to have to resume a normal life, meant faking the funk. It meant faking it. And so she was going to work. She would go through the motions. She would do the day-to-day, the minimum, and then come home and just melt down every single night. And that was because that hope. Every time her phone rang, she hoped it was Tony. Every time a text message alert went off, she hoped it was Tony. And every time she got a Facebook notification, she hoped it was Tony. And every single time she hoped and it wasn't, another piece broke off and fell apart. And that is why you cannot cling to hope. You have to force yourself to be in relationship with reality and force yourself into action in order to recover. Okay? So that's the message for tonight. It's interesting to go back and read through these passages, and to the point of, being having your heart broken every single time because you cling to that hope, and then when hope doesn't happen, Jenna says in the book, she says, each new day I think I get a little stronger. I cry a little less. Unfortunately, I also trust a little less too. I feel bad for the one or the ones who follow in Tony's shoes. The ground he left lie in his wake is hollowed and uneven at best. It is laced with piercing shards of broken pieces of my heart still strewn about. I'm not sure if there will ever be anyone after him. If there somehow is, I don't know how they will know to look for the landmines in the road. As much as I try, the cracks and the holes are still a real part of the delicate landscape that remains of my heart. I'm certainly not ready for anyone to go near that fragile ground. Tomorrow is a new day. Hope left the building today. I don't think she knows what to do, and it's probably for the best, but the bad news is she's still lingering around. She's still waiting nearby with fingers and toes crossed that all this is a huge mistake and that he will call. Hope is trying to convince me that I will get the call and I will receive him back. Hope is trying to convince me from the front steps that he really does love me, that this is all a big misunderstanding. This heifer is trying to convince me that when, not if, he calls, he will explain and it will all and it explain it all and a new love will be formed. Go away, Hope. Just leave me like everyone else does. Yes, Hope has left the building today, but she has not left me alone. Hope believes. Oh my God, it hurts to admit this. I feel the tears again, but I don't want to believe. But I want to believe too. It just hurts too badly. I need to find a way to bury this miscarriage. And so that is the crux of how too much hope and clinging to hope instead of forcing yourself into action just creates more pain. It creates more sorrow. It creates more devastation. And so while maybe a big chunk had been broken off, each time you cling to hope and hope doesn't come through, it doesn't happen, whatever that thing is that you're hoping for doesn't happen, you're hurt all over again. You're devastated all over again. So getting in touch with and getting in sync with reality, reality-based training, reality-based coaching, reality-based living, that's what I represent. And this is why, because hope hurts, but reality forces you into action, because the reality is Tony's gone. Reality is you don't have an explanation. And the larger reality is you still have to move on with your life. So what the hell are you going to do about it? Hope's not going to help you move forward. Hope's going to hold you in bondage to the past. So that's the message tonight from 30 Books in 30 Weeks. Hope hurts. And we will talk a little bit more about hope probably tomorrow. And tomorrow I actually want to share a passage to the Broken Boys, and it talks about people going out looking for love when they're not healed and whole themselves. And so I want to share that with you guys. So have a great night. Enjoy the rest of your Saturday or Friday. Welcome to the weekend. It's all a blur to me. But anyway, so enjoy the rest of your night, and we will be back tomorrow with another 30 Books in 30 Weeks. And as always, thanks for living life on Mars. Talk to you guys later.